Okay, just some follow-up to some other videos I've posted. I had two really good days with my two high-energy wind turbines. Both are rated, nominally rated at 1 kilowatt, although both produce well over that. But just wanted to show some screenshots, some data to accompany the videos. Had two really good days. Between the 2 days, produced right around 20 kilowatt hours between the two turbines. In other words, over those 48 hours, produced nearly 20 kilowatts. So here's a screenshot from my TED Energy monitor over the 24-hour period there. You can see on the scale here, that's 1 kilowatt hour, kilowatts, 2 kilowatts, 3. And the blue line here indicates the combined output of the two turbines over the course of the day. The total output for the 24-hour period here, close to 12 kilowatt hours. Just to give you an idea of the wind day we were looking at, these are some screenshots from my wind monitoring device, my in-speed anemometer, over the 24-hour period. Certainly some higher winds. There's again the scale here on the left, miles per hour. There were certainly some gusts up there in the 35, maybe a little bit into the 40s, but overall it was the very consistently higher wind speeds throughout the day, for most of the day. And of course it's critical here, the direction of the wind, this bottom graph. You can see strong wind from the north, very little variability in the direction, and at least my experience, that's huge. If you've got more variable gusting winds, that breaks the momentum or inertia, whichever, of the blade spin, keeps your RPMs down and therefore your output down. If you've got a more consistent, stronger, heavier wind and one from the same direction, that really helps in keeping the RPMs up consistently over the day and higher output. So that was my 12 kilowatt hour day. And then the following day, not quite as productive, and I was running some other stuff on my home electric system that makes this graph a little messier. But that output was 8.5 kilowatt hours. Again, combined output over a 24-hour period for the two turbines. But this was the wind profile for that day. Again, pretty high consistent wind there. No gusts over 40. Averages were in the high teens to 20s. Obviously some gusts up stronger. Again, very strong direction until near the end of the day when things started slipping and the wind speed dropped as well. But for the dates of May 21st and May 20th, in my location in the Great Plains of the United States, close to 20 kilowatt hours between these two turbines. Again, I guess I cut out the section of the TED output that had the 8.5. But I suspect, as I indicated in the other video, that the newer HY1000 is definitely an improvement over the older model. I should have mentioned that the peak output that I recorded on the day in which the 12 kilowatt hours were produced, I pegged a 2.61 kilowatt hour peak output between the two turbines. In my experience with the old HY1000, my old turbine, about once it hit 1 kilowatt, maybe 1.1, that's about as high as it would go. So my guess is, and I bought my newer HY1000 direct from the manufacturer in China, and the numbers they were telling me said that bad boy can peak at 1.5, 1.6. That seems to be my experience. I wasn't home at the time. I wasn't able to measure it separately. I'll try to do that and post some follow-up videos. But this new HY1000 turbine, longer blades, 5-blade design, supposedly newer innards alternator, really seems to kick out the energy. So they seem to have nailed it. But obviously, pretty great production for 2 days. Now, obviously, those aren't typical days even for a relatively windier part of the country like mine. But still, the maximum I had ever recorded for a 1-day period with the old turbine was about 4 kilowatt hours. So easily surpassing that. And of course, obviously, with 2 of them, that shows you the difference that new one can make there. As I talked about in the video, the setup I have for both of these turbines, going straight to a Sun G 1 kilowatt grid tie inverter, and then a dump load off of that. The one thing I did do differently with the newer turbine, just because of its greater power, is I've stacked 2 1 kilowatt GTI grid tie inverters off that one. They're 22 to 60 volts. Stacked those coming off to split the output, and at least if this is any indication, again, I don't have the data side by side to see whether one would be better than 2 in terms of the output. My main concern was splitting the output, just because of concern of overloading the single and being able to add an additional dump load off each one. But very good days, good numbers, and hopefully that will continue. So, signing off.